Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are across Canada. Welcome to today's webinar, Stronger Together. I'm Peter Wallenius, Vice President of Cybersecurity Programs and Services at CanARIE. Joining me today is Jill Kowalchuk, Senior Director of CanSSOC. Today's webinar will discuss the pending integration of CanSSOC into CanARIE, and our intent is to pursue a collaborative approach with our community partners to develop and deliver a set of integrated services which will enhance the cybersecurity capacity and capabilities in defense of the research and education sector. Over the next 20-25 minutes or so, we'll share with you our approach and the rationale behind the integration, and we'll leave plenty of time for questions that any of you should have. So without further ado, I will pass over to Jill.
Thanks, Pete. Before we dive into more about our integration, I'll just start by setting a bit of the context. So for those of you on the call that are involved either directly or indirectly in the cybersecurity space, you've probably seen a slide similar to this slide potentially, or content on this slide over the last year or two. We know that cybersecurity is a huge challenge for everybody, but particularly in the unique context for the higher education space. Every day we see more and more attacks, more and more risks, and the needs of our community, while the threats impacting our community are the same as the threats impacting small businesses, governments, and others, the way that we manage those and the risks associated with the higher education sector adds a unique context. And so what we're looking to do today, or the integration that we'll talk about today, was really intended to provide a foundation to support the increased cybersecurity posture of the entire sector across Canada. And so we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing and why we think it will help that as we go forward.
Going back to 2019, a group of individuals across the sector began discussions on how we could better collaborate and align the breadth of activities that were occurring in our sector. And these activities and discussions really led to the formation of a strategic approach to moving forward in a collaboration across the sector, and led to the launch of the CanARIE Cybersecurity Initiatives program in 2020. But the three strategic pillars we developed in pursuing our collaboration were around engage, enhance, and evolve. And we really saw these as kind of the fundamental steps. Engage was really focused on bringing higher education and DRI ecosystem partners together to determine exactly how we needed to approach the tasks of cybersecurity in front of us, and how could we collectively deliver a national approach to cybersecurity services. Enhance was all about recognizing the needs we had in terms of investing in capabilities and systems. So how could we fund deployment of technologies and support the development of talent in a more coordinated fashion across the ecosystem, recognizing the breadth of the challenges in front of us and the perpetual gap in talent that we were faced. And evolve was really focused on how do we continue to grow the cybersecurity ecosystem in higher ed and research, and how can we support technology and services innovation over the longer term, so that we're as readily as possible staying in front of the challenges in front of us, excuse me.
So Pete's talked about or introduced the Cybersecurity Initiatives program that CanARIE stood out a number of years ago. And I'm going to talk a little bit about CanSSOC and the CanSSOC vision. So CanSSOC started a number of years ago as a proof of concept. It was never intended to just be a small number of institutions. It was always intended to include a larger number. And we showed that as we worked with CanARIE around receiving CIP funding to deploy threat feed out to all institutions. The CanSSOC vision has always been and will continue to be better than we can do on our own, always in partnership. So the idea behind that is not replacing existing investments or solutions or organizations, but rather looking at what institutions already have access to, and finding out what those gaps are, and working together with partners to enhance and improve those and pull them together in a more effective and efficient way. Integration with CanARIE will really not only continue that mandate and vision, but also provide the foundation to make it even better, an even more integrated system of solutions targeted to the higher education sector. On the simplistic puzzle, you see it on the right. It is really key in a few areas. Institutions are and will continue to be at the center of all of this. All of what we're looking to do is to try and provide solutions to support institutions in reducing their risk or managing their risk associated with this growing cybersecurity challenge. And so going forward with CanARIE, we will continue to be able to do that and leverage existing partnerships that we have and already enhance others. We're working closely with NREN partners. The collaboration with CanARIE will allow us to work even more closely with those partners around the development of solutions that support institutions as we go forward.
In the lead up to the activities we're talking to you about today, we spent some time looking at what we had achieved collectively as a system over the past 3 years, and really wanted to focus on where were the gaps and the opportunities for improvement. And these will inform a lot of the activities that you'll hear about CanSSOC and CanARIE and partners rolling out over the coming months. We focused on 4 key areas where we saw opportunities for improvement. Certainly the first was initiative optimization, and that was about improving the integration between systems and platforms with a view to service enhancements, doing more with the systems we funded and achieving more actionable intelligence and better outcomes. Certainly that requires a systems view, and we recognize there's a need to develop both a technology architecture for a national system, as well as an architectural model for where cybersecurity analyst talent resides across the country to make most effective use of the tools that we have. And I always term this as developing the right mix of skills in the right place. We recognized, again, that the need for talent development and retention, and that ongoing need for services innovation. Looking forward beyond today's capabilities, that many of the cybersecurity investments initiatives program was funding, to more evaluation of early stage investments which had the potential to become future CIP initiatives to benefit the sector as a whole. So that led us to the approach we're talking to you about today. You know, recognizing the breadth of the activities we had in front of us, and attempting to develop a systems view and coordinate and federate the people and the systems across the country. We recognize that the major investments from a program and activities perspective between CanSSOC and CanARIE and our partners in the NREN should mirror what we're trying to achieve in the community. And on a go-forward basis, we are structuring CanSSOC and the CanARIE Cybersecurity Initiatives Program to more of an integrated assembly of initiatives under a common operating department that supports system-wide alignment of these federated systems. So ensuring that people, process, and tools are thought of in a more of a unified fashion from one end of the country to the other. Developing and delivering a portfolio of national services which will work in lockstep with regional and local services, and again undertaking services innovation, in this case underwritten by the research intensive group of universities that we'll discuss in a couple of moments. So what we're in the middle of doing now is integrating and aligning within CanARIE all of these cybersecurity related initiatives, whether it's the CanSSOC team, the CanARIE the Cybersecurity Initiatives Program, or those activities with our National Research and Education Network partners that are focused on cybersecurity. all into a single line of business approach for a more coordinated approach to our service development and delivery functions. So what you'll see here is the representation of how we intend to structure the group. The CanSSOC team is really the middle box, and the focus of that is national service development and delivery, working out federated systems architecture, national services roadmap, the operation of the RIG Innovation Fund, in lockstep with a parallel function with the NREN partners, which is really charged with how the NREN supports service delivery, its own specific initiatives in support of cybersecurity assessments, as an example, and then supported by a common program management function, which provides the group services in how we plan, develop, and incubate new services, and ensure that they all work together in a cohesive whole, ensuring that we have the right mix of investment across the portfolio of services, and that we're measuring and reporting on the outcomes and the metrics of the services we're delivering.
Sorry, technology fail. Thanks, Pete. So I'll dive now a little bit more into the role of CanSSOC. And so the role you see here defined on this chart is really the way we've been operating since our inception, or it's evolved in terms of to include a variety of components as we've worked over the years around figuring out what CanSSOC really is. The opportunity, or when we started discussions with CanARIE around the integration, we really worked hard to sort of document and identify the different pieces. So we see CanSSOC having 3 distinct components, all of which work together. I will state, we know at times that we use the word CanSSOC and it can be challenging because it does mean these different pieces. At the foundation, we see CanSSOC as a national federated service system that delivers services. So this includes both people that work directly sort of dedicated to CanSSOC, but also people that are in other related partner organizations that work collaboratively around delivery of services and solutions out to the sector. CanSSOC is the people, process, and tools that enable this federation. So there's a small team of dedicated people that work on CanSSOC full-time. We're working on creating processes. We've engaged with partners around the development of tools and are going to continue on other tools and services like threat feed that many have access to already. And then finally, CanSSOC is this organizational department inside CanARIE that is going to focus on working with partners outside of CanARIE, as well as with other departments inside CanARIE around the development of this national system, coordinating that, identifying roles and functions, and working together in a more holistic way to provide better solutions and support for institutions. So we've talked both about the CIP, or Cybersecurity Initiatives Program that CanARIE has stood up for the last few years. And Pete's also mentioned this research intensive group, or this RIG investment fund. And so the RIG investment really is the evolution of how CanSSOC started, with a small set of institutions that put in financial contributions to work on identifying gaps those institutions had based on their existing investment solutions of people and process, and then working on the development of solutions to support that. The expectation was never that it would always just be a small set of institutions, but that by working together on these challenges, outcomes from that would be developed that could support the entire and broader sector. We saw a lot of success in this model and wanted to work on continuing this as we go forward. And also institutions who have this research intensive challenge wanted to continue to collaborate on the development of solutions given that context. And so we've created a model as part of CanARIE that supports this, and it's this RIG investment. So in the next slide, I'll talk about which institutions have signed on to be a part of this RIG. They have invested financially, and they to support working on activities and the development of solutions identified by this group. Those institutions will also commit to people, make a commitment to submitting, to sharing data and logs so we can do analysis and better support detection and response. The RIG investment is only going to be one component of what CanSSOC does and continues to do. At the top of this slide, you see the CIP CanARIE investment. This is things like threat feed that we will continue to evolve and provide out to all institutions. It will include other things on the roadmap, like analyst network providing advisories and alerts and exec briefs out to institutions, working with institutions on the disclosure of incidents, providing support to those institutions on detection and response, as well as leveraging what we can from that to provide additional intel and context out to the broader community. And then further identifying for that broad community what gaps exist out there and how we can work to develop solutions in a federated model to support it with NREN partners, with the broad institutional context. So what's important on this is really that by bringing both of these two things into CanARIE, we'll be able to make sure they're integrated and support a cohesive system in a better way. And pieces out of each of those, whether it be data or alerts or advisories or new solutions, can be leveraged to benefit the broad sector as a whole. We often get asked which institutions are part of the RIG. So we put them here. We have 14 institutions as of today that have signed up to be a part of the RIG. We had our inaugural RIG council meeting a couple of weeks ago, which included VP Finance and Admin or equivalent and designates who worked to set up sort of the structure of how we would going forward. There will be a steering committee that guides the development of the plan and the management of that investment on a regular basis. And we'll be working closely with information security leaders from these institutions to understand what are the gaps, what are possible solutions that could meet these gaps, and how could they expand to benefit the broader sector. We're looking to engage interested NREN partners in this as well to really further that integration with institutions beyond those that have the research context and that research challenge, and those who were able to sign up. So before I pass it back to Pete, we've talked a lot around this idea around the federation. And I want to give a bit of a taste on what we're seeing this means based on what we've done to date. The concept of the federation, we're looking to get input from the broad community and develop workshops over the coming weeks and months to gather that input and stand up and define what does the federation mean and how can it support this integrated set of services and solutions. But one of the pieces we do see is we see the federation existing in at least two components and potentially more. The piece you see on the left with the analyst team, this is around people who are looking at data from institutions, looking at vulnerabilities, looking at alerts, potentially generating, sharing what they see across that, providing intelligence back to institutions and NREN partners about what's happening and how institutions can detect and respond to that. We've talked a lot about this, NREN partners and CanSSOC and CanARIE and others have talked a lot, so you might have heard pieces of this historically. We also see that the federation existing on the engineering or the infrastructure side of it as well. We've built this and tested it out and evolved this through the creation of threat feed, as well as some other proof of concept services that we've developed. And so in this, McGill, a key partner in CanSSOC, has stood up and operates the threat feed infrastructure and provides that infrastructure that analysts look at and use to support institutions. And we're looking at expanding that with other solutions and services, including both existing CIP initiatives, if it makes sense, as well as new and other components to allow us to share data and intelligence across those services, if and when it makes sense, with a foundation of trust across institutions, as well as make it seamless for institutions to sign up to, get access to, leverage, get support on, and ask questions to experts as part of it. So over the coming next year, we're looking at better defining or evolving the definition of these two components, working with interested parties to build this out and provide services and solutions in the most effective and efficient way out to institutions.
So what do we expect to achieve out of all this? Jill's mentioned, the work that will be done over the coming year. That's really kind of the focus that's in front of us, and really the activities today are aligning our capabilities into this operating department that we've just outlined to be able to better execute against those activities. So what we're expecting out of this is really to address some of the gaps we've talked to you about today, providing sustainable funding that will allow the CanSSOC team to implement and support the functions and the vision of its how it was established in the first place, aligning and coordinating and consolidating all of the separate programs and initiatives between CanSSOC, CanARIE, NREN partners, and others into a more integrated approach, so that we're have a better view of not only systems, but where we need to focus our development and talent resources. And ultimately, we expect that closer collaboration will result in the federated systems that Jill referenced earlier. We certainly recognize that access to talent is an ongoing challenge, not only in cybersecurity in general, but specifically in research education. And we believe that by combining our forces across these partners, we'll have better opportunities for career progression between jobs. We'll have a better sense of where talent needs to exist and what mix of skills we need, and with those activities, we'll be much more effective in developing and retaining the talent we need to support our objectives. And finally, using the RIG Innovation Fund to conduct early stage research and development proofs of concept that support future CIP initiatives are critical to ongoing success in providing the defense we need for our sector. So with
You muted Pete, but I think he was saying with that, we'll open it up if there are any questions.
Very good.
So when we were chatting, we had a question from Demiris related to cybersecurity training. So currently there is no cybersecurity training programs available through the CanARIE CIP program or CanSSOC. We do work closely with NREN partners and others. Demiris, you're located in BC, so I encourage you to reach out to your BCNet representative to get that input and advice. I don't know the exact person, but if you know Ivor at BCNet, I'm sure he can help direct you in the right way, and I can look up Ivor's email and provide that to you. No problem. We'll hold for a minute and sort of ask the other attendees if there are any other questions. While we give a minute, I'll say that both Peter and I are available to answer any questions you might have, provide further clarification on anything that you might have, and alternatively, if you are inside the CanSSOC space, you can reach out to me on Slack or in your institutional channel. And we can, get the answers to the questions or provide information there. So a question has come in, a really good question and creative question, which is, are there any plans to be proactive about security in new models such as virtual reality and metaverse? And so I'll talk a little bit about CanSSOC's focus and then talk about where we're looking to go and tie in some other organizations tie in some other initiatives that are out there. very much emphasizing the sort of in partnership and not replacing existing initiatives. So on the CanSSOC side, where we start out, we're very much targeted to securing institutions. And so as a result of that, our primary relationship is with the department or individuals who hold accountability as it relates to the cybersecurity challenges, I'll say specifically related to operations or detection and response for the institution. So at most, if not all institutions, this is the CIO or equivalent slash CISO inside typically the IT department. And we're very much about the development of solutions to their existing challenges and problems inside this operational sector. And so, while we are very keen on research and new components that are coming out of this challenge, we're looking to what has been developed by researchers, inside our institutions, or inside vendors that can be applied and operated to meet our immediate challenge. So those that are ready or almost ready for that operational sort of component of it. Having said that, we recognize, particularly in our case, with some of the scope and scale that institutions have, the solutions that we need for our current problems don't yet exist. So we're really eager to work with some of the experts we have inside the research space across Canada to support the testing and development and evolution of new technologies and models. I'll be frank, we talk a lot about AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning in this context. We haven't talked a lot about virtual reality and metaverse, but it's certainly something that we might talk about now or kind of put out there as something that we would explore. We partner, another point I want to take a plug to is we're really eager to work with the Cybersecurity Initiative Network. That's not the right word. Cybersecurity and Innovation Network that has been funded with 5 partner institutions across Canada. CanARIE has an existing relationship with Concordia on the IDS, intrusion detection system project. And so there's lots of opportunities to continue to work with them as well as the other 4 institutions out there.
Next question is from Jerry Miller. Can you talk a little bit about the definition of eligible organizations? Skill testing question for me, I think, Jerry. So an eligible organization is a CanARIE term for those institutions that are eligible to participate in the Cybersecurity Initiatives Program. The general requirement is that you're connected to the National Research and Education Network. There's another requirement that it has to be an individual network segment that isn't related to, like, a college at U of T wouldn't be considered its own eligible organization. There are, I believe, 209 eligible organizations across Canada at the moment. When we launched the program in November 2020, there were roughly 190, so we continue to grow that and will continue to grow it. It generally does cover, though, the breadth of higher ed and research as we know it in the country. So it includes universities, colleges, CEGEPs, polytechnics as an example, and includes a few research organizations as well. So Jerry, hopefully that helps. Next from Richard Labrie. At the institutional level, mainly for small institutions, one of the main issues is the lack of manpower and time to integrate CanARIE-funded cybersecurity initiatives. For many, this is a huge project. Has CanARIE thought about ways to address that? Richard, I don't think we have an answer for you. We certainly recognize the nature of the challenge. So I'll provide maybe 2 insights that may help. Certainly we expect over time to continue to build capacity in the broader system, including the NREN partners, and develop initiatives that we intend that NREN partners can help to deploy on behalf of institutions. So many of the NREN partners today have shared CISO projects. Could we extend that into other shared resources on behalf of the sector, supported by an NREM partner. That's certainly one angle that we would definitely be looking at. And as we think about, I made some comments earlier about how do we develop and retain talent on behalf of the system. Our primary immediate focus is the needs of our broader team at CanARIE, CanSSOC, and the NREM partners, and we're beginning to do work with training partners such as Lighthouse Labs in New Brunswick. I still believe the Rogers Catalyst Center, formerly Ryerson, now TMU. We see these training programs as really effective means of providing us a pipeline of ongoing talent that we can access to use, in our requirements, and provide some skills and some hands-on experience, and hopefully, my previous reference to providing career paths is one of the angles we should certainly pursue. So, do we begin thinking of the entirety of the sector as career paths, and begin sharing needs and resources, and providing opportunities for career progression as from new grads from these training programs throughout the sector? So certainly something to look at. Well, again, don't have a firm answer today. Don't believe we have any further questions. Give it another few seconds. It looks like that's it. Thank you very much for joining Jill and I today, and talking about our rationale and our plans for moving forward with the integration of CanSSOC into CanARIE, and our plans to evolve this federated system of technologies and services. I expect we'll be coming back to you in the coming weeks and months as we begin to flesh out these definitions and concepts, and get input and move forward in achieving what we need to on behalf of the sector. So again, thank you very much for attending, and have a great day.